Hey, I wanted to drop you a quick note in before we start this episode because there's an opportunity for you to do some good in the world. On the right-hand side of the page at IamSpirituality.com, you'll see a link to a nomination and voting process for the 2011 Podcast Awards. Now, I don't really care so much about the award itself, but the nomination and awards process can bring a podcast a certain amount of exposure. And I put this podcast out for folks who want to know more about inner peace and spirituality and the pain and suffering process that blocks them from that. But a lot of people don't know that we're here. And so if we get nominated and possibly even get an award, then that just creates a lot of exposure for the people who may want to have this type of message. Of course, we don't shove it on anybody or force it on anyone, but we want to put it out there for the people who want that type of information. So if you could, I put this out for you guys for free. I don't ask very much. Stop by IamSpirituality.com, click on the link, nominate/vote for us. You can vote once a day after the nomination process ends. And of course, you can vote for your other favorite podcasts there as well. And, maybe we can get a little bit of exposure on this thing and help some folks that you don't even know. And don't forget to pass this on to your friends as well. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day. On with this episode. So, you say you have some relationship issues. Really? No kidding. Yeah, it's a common challenge. I don't know of many relationships that are truly perfect, but you don't have to let relationship issues become so severe that they inhibit the enjoyment of your life. Today, we're going to discuss that. Green light means go! Welcome to the I Am Podcast, where we answer all the questions about spirituality and inner peace that you ever wanted to ask, and where we learn the secrets of humanity and divinity through a better understanding of both. I'm your host, Sean Webb. It's no secret that the divorce rate is astronomically high, and that's just the number of relationships that end after actually getting to a point where two people agree that they want to get married. So just imagine how many relationships end badly without the ring. So there are obviously tons of relationship issues going on out there, right? And even in a so-called good relationship, there can be issues that don't quite lead to its demise, but that still make that relationship less than utopian. And today, we're going to talk about that. Crap that makes your relationship suck sometimes. Okay, so believe it or not, all relationship issues that have ever existed in the history of the planet, and all relationship issues that will ever come into existence, all the relationship issues that you're experiencing today, be them with a significant other or with a member of your family or friends, all relationship issues everywhere boil down to one cause. And that cause is the difference in mindful understanding of self between one person's mind and the mindful understanding of self in another person's mind, aka known as ego versus ego. Every relationship issue ever boils down to one person's idea or preference for their life versus another person's idea or preference for their life. Now, to explain that a little better, I gathered the top 10 list of relationship killers from some of the top psychology resources so we can tell you what they are and show you how they all come from the same exact place. So we're not only going to learn what the top 10 relationship issues are, but we're going to see why they occur and how to deal with them moving forward. And by the way, we're working from the Body, Mind, Spirit model, which can be downloaded for free at IamSpirituality.com. Top 10 relationship killer number 1, partner neglect. This kind of stuff includes one partner ignoring the other partner. Alcoholism, drugs, gambling, or other addictions, workaholism, or just plain disinterest. Now, we discussed in episode 21 how most relationships are based on mostly a false love. Sorry to deliver the bad news there, but you can save the situation through spiritual discovery if you're in one of those relationships. But when relationships start, they start because one person's presence, ideas, and interactions agree with the other person's mindful preference of how they want to see their life, and vice versa. It's reciprocal. But if one partner then becomes all caught up in their own mess and their own needs by, being them addictions or preferences to attain goals at work or football season or parenting their kids or whatever it is that's more important to them than this other person, that does two things in a relationship. One, it ignores a partner's needs, leaving that partner to fulfill those needs themselves. And two, it tells the partner that they and their needs are not as important as the neglecting partner's needs are. The neglected partner sees himself as playing second fiddle to whatever it is that's getting all the attention, which in effect is an ego devaluation, right? So that creates either anger or sadness or both, depending on whether the neglected partner allows the devaluation to slip into their definition of self, their ego. So in short, the ego is the culprit in any neglect situation. In the neglector, the attachment to whatever is stealing the attention comes from the needs of the ego, and in the neglected, the ego devaluation causes the negative emotional fallout. Top 10 relationship killer number 2, depriving of the partner of love. You know, it's kind of silly that the world of psychology identifies this as a separate issue, as that it is the same issue as number 1, neglect. When one partner isn't sharing emotionally, I call that neglecting the relationship. This just goes to show you how clueless the world of psychology currently is. But again, the culprit here is the ego. If one partner is so wrapped up in their own mind that they aren't there emotionally for the other partner, then one ego causes problems for both egos. Top 10 relationship killer number 3, dishonesty and betrayal. Cheating and lying betrays the trust required to have any healthy relationship. Cheating in one partner is caused by the ego's need to be ingratiated in that cheating person, right? I am sexy enough to convince this person to sleep with me. I am interesting enough for this person to want to start a relationship with me, even though I'm in another relationship. It's a weakness. Cheating is a psychological instability caused by egoic insecurity, okay? And in some cases, an inability to control bodily urges through rational and compassionate thought, but it's a weakness of the ego either way. Similarly, lying is a mechanism to either avoid an egoic devaluation, to hide something that you're ashamed of, or a mechanism to falsely bolster egoic valuation, right? To pretend to be more than you are. So lying is also a weakness of the ego. Either way, the destructive effects of lying and cheating in a relationship are caused by ego in the weakest partner. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. Top 10 relationship killer number 4, partner abuse. Abuse can come in the form of physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, and just downright being mean. And all these are caused by sicknesses and weaknesses of the ego. At any point that any partner in a relationship is trying to devalue the egoic existence of the other partner by putting them down emotionally, by controlling them sexually or physically, the body is part of the mind's definition of self, the ego, by beating on their partner, thereby demeaning their existence, those actions are all attempts to increase the relative valuation of their own ego by devaluing the existence of their partner's ego. I am powerful. I am in control here. It's a weakness and an insecurity. I mean, we all know someone who doesn't have a nice word to say about anything or anyone, right? Well, that's a sickness of their ego, that if they put everything down, they are somehow more of a person. But it's not true. People who beat other people down physically, emotionally, mentally are weak, pathetic egos looking for validation that won't really help them because they're so insecure. And by the way, if you know someone who has a problem with me saying they're weak when they're beating on people, you can send them to me for a first-class ass whooping. Just kidding. Top 10 relationship killer number 5, scapegoating. Scapegoating is where one partner takes their anger or frustration out on the other partner. And so what causes the anger and frustration in the first place? Well, as plainly explained in episode 11, the ego and the level of attachment cause 100% of all anger family emotions, from mild frustration all the way up through rage. So if one partner is experiencing those emotions, they're caused by the ego. But the fact that taking some of those emotions out on someone else, that's also the act of trying to increase the valuation of their own ego by doing something that makes them feel more powerful. And so that's how innocent people become the victims. Top 10 relationship killer number 6, negativism. Just being negative all the time. And as we discussed in relationship killer number 4, all chronic negativism is caused by an egoic need to demean the positions of others so as to feel egoically superior. Thus, it's an egoic weakness and an ego-caused situation. Pessimists die earlier. The gene pool will be clean of them shortly. Top 10 relationship killer number 7, gossiping. And this isn't gossiping like, oh, did you hear about the neighbor down the street? No. This comes through as you or your partner telling family or friends about relationship problems without talking to each other about them. reaching out to others for solace when things aren't going how you would prefer them to go is simply a way of trying to get your ego validated without the risk of dealing with the issue with your partner. This is a weak move also. If someone is reaching out to get validation that their position is right or that they are indeed worthy of love in a neglecting situation, or that their partner is in the wrong and needs to do this or that act of trying to get validation and trying to fulfill your own egoic needs without addressing the situation in the relationship head on is as selfish as any other relationship neglect situation. When you only reach out for comfort, and I'm not saying when you reach out for comfort in connection with someone, because a lot of people do that, and getting a sounding board for addressing relationship issues can be a good idea, but when you only reach out for comfort without any intention of addressing the underlying issue with your partner, you're being as selfish as any workaholic, any alcoholic, or any emotionally absent partner. Because you are addressing your needs only. Sorry to be the messenger on that one, but it's true. Certainly reach out for companionship, certainly reach out for the opinions of the ones you love, but don't neglect your partner by only reaching out to someone else. Top 10 relationship killer number 8. One partner putting themselves first, or one partner putting themselves last. One partner putting themselves first was explained in relationship killers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now 8. It's an egoic valuation related sickness. A partner putting themselves last, however, is an interesting twist, but it's still an egoic valuation related sickness, right? Now, instead of me being the most important, and I'm caught up in my own stuff, now I'm not important enough to assert my existence at any time in the relationship. Whatever you want is fine, honey. But that can backfire into a resentment on both sides, that the relenting partner does not have any backbone, and so a buildup of frustration and resentment in the relenting partner builds, and the lack of respect in the person that you're deferring to gets built up, and so the egoic valuation sickness causes the problem in the relationship. Top 10 relationship killer number 9, one partner trying to change the other partner. And this one comes right out of the Preference to See Life Differently playbook. One partner attaches to an idea of how they see their relationship should be, or how that they see their partner should be, and they try to mold the other person into that idea. You should buy me flowers more often. You should give me more jobs when I'm watching football, whatever it is. You should do this, or we should do that, in an attachment to an idea of how you think things should be. Now, ideas on how to improve your quality of life? Awesome, go for it. Change is awesome. But expecting your partner to be a different person, not the right way to go. You need to decide what type of life that you want, then find someone or no one who fits with that intention. Or if you mostly like who you're with, make the best life you can with what you got to work with. Otherwise, you're just letting egoic attachments to ideas of what life should be undermine the relationship and cause turmoil. Top 10 relationship killer number 10, arguments, fighting, and disagreements. Listen, we explained arguments and disagreements thoroughly back in episodes 29 and 30. So go back if you need to have proof that they're caused by egoic attachment. The differences in ideas that two people have of themselves in their minds cause all disagreements everywhere. When one person defines themselves as something that is incompatible with their partner, it can be rough on that relationship, and understandably so, but make no mistake, it is the mind's definition of self and the attachment and the defense of those ideas that causes all fights in any relationship. Okay, so how do we get rid of all these trouble-causing relationship issues? Let's talk about that, honey. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that taking the one common cause out of the equation regarding all relationship issues can help solve all relationship issues you could ever have. I mean, removing the ego from your mind's existence is the end-all be-all solution, right? No relationship issues ever, no negative emotions ever again. The only problem is removing the influence of the ego is way easier said than done, and that's why only a minority of spiritual masters have done it. But with today's communications technologies, we're going to teach you how to do it also. There are tons of enlightened people in Tibet and India. Why? They were close to the good teachers. But now with the internet, you can be close to a good teacher in your own living room. Now make no mistake, it takes a personal spiritual awakening within you to create any change that will last regarding your own inner peace. Not me or anyone else on this planet can do this for you. It takes a full-on spiritually sourced, holy crap, I'm one with everything in the universe experience to make a shift in your ego. You cannot reason yourself into enlightenment. You can't think your way into it. You can't just read some books or watch some podcast and one day say, oh, I get it. You can't. There's no book on the entire planet or the entire universe that can do that for you. It has to be internally sourced. It's an experience. It takes a mystical experience sourced from within you to be able to put your ego in check by replacing it. Because without seeing what else exists besides your false self, you are convinced your false self is your true self. And until you find your true self, you won't be able to realize that your false self is your false self, and you won't be able to let it go. It is when you find the point that you see what you actually are, that you discover through meditation or yoga or fasting or contemplative prayer or one of the many other global disciplines designed to lead you to your inner discovery. It's all about the ancient secret of know thyself. It isn't until that point that you're able to displace the ego, meaning that you discover the real you that allows you to understand that your fake you, your mindful definition of you, is a big lie. Because it's the lie that causes all your pain and suffering, as proven scientifically by the body, mind, spirit model. God put your true self in there for you to find. If you're not willing to look, it's your fault. Free will, baby. And so, regarding our relationship stuff and our regular everyday life stuff, when you discover the truth about your existence, that you aren't your ego, that you are the spiritual experience that you have that then replaces your ego, you remove most every expectation or preference that you could ever have that would influence any relationship you're ever in. You replace the need to argue and defend your false self with the knowledge and the contentment that you're not that existence anymore. In the spiritual space, you've got nothing but love to give. Nothing but acceptance of what is to process. Nothing but compassion for yourself and for all other people around you. What do you think that would do for your relationships? So I guess what I'm telling you is that spirituality and the discovery of your inner spiritual self is the solution to any relationship problem you could ever face. Because if you can't identify with the problem in the first place, because it doesn't affect you, and you can come from a place where you understand how to resolve mindful problems in your mate, you have no issues, period. So go meditate and subscribe for updates at IamSpirituality.com, where we're going to be announcing a couple of seminars, some free guided meditation courses, and some other cool stuff that's coming that I will not be mentioning on the podcast. And as always, don't forget to get your free audiobook from audible.com at audibletrial.com/IamSpirituality, where you can download any spiritual audiobook read by the author for free with their risk-free 14-day trial. They have over 85,000 titles, all of which you can load on your iPod or phone for listening on the go. Find out more at audibletrial.com/IamSpirituality. Find us on Twitter at twitter.com/IamSpirituality or Facebook.com/IamSpirituality. A lot of cool conversations going on there. And if you could, drop by iTunes and leave us a review. Share this podcast with people you care about who want to understand the ancient secrets of spirituality. And don't forget to vote for us for the 2011 People's Choice Podcast Awards so that other people can become aware that we exist. I don't really care about the award itself, but that kind of stuff can bring you some exposure. So you can find the link at IamSpirituality.com. See you next week. Peace.